This is a huge invasion of privacy. If I can follow everywhere you go, where do you worship? Where do you work? Who are your romantic interests? And I merge all of this together, now I can start making predictions. All of this comes together in what's called pattern of life data. We're looking at about 800 million to a billion streaming video cameras by 2030. We need 20 gigawatts just to analyze the video streams. Now, all of a sudden, all of these data centers are starting to make sense. That is a control system. It's not conspiracy theory when the people that are planning it are talking about it openly. You're taking my data without my consent and selling it to them for a profit. And when I want to know who has been misusing it, you're telling me that would violate their privacy. That is beyond Orwellian.
Is this network expanding?
Rapidly. We're talking about robbing people of free will. We're no longer citizens, we're suspects.
World War III is already happening.
This is a house of cards, and it is in the process of collapsing right now.
You're going to see an economic crash, the likes of which we've never seen.
Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Today I'm joined by Dr. John Padfield, creator of Business Reform, a YouTube channel focused on technology, surveillance, and civil liberties. He has a bachelor's in electrical engineering, a master's in technology, and a PhD in technology leadership, all from Purdue University, where he's currently a professor. I wanted to have John on today because he has a wealth of knowledge as it pertains to digital preparedness. Oftentimes as preppers, we focus on the Mad Max aspects of things and how we might endure the rigors of a post-apocalyptic world where there was a technological downgrade, and many people are prepared for that eventuality. They have their bug out bags and all that stuff, but perhaps more daunting is preparing for a technocratic surveillance totalitarian state. That's something that a lot of people don't want to think about, but I think that's pretty much inevitable at this point. So, John, give us like the high level breakdown of just how technocratic and dystopic the world we're entering is becoming, and maybe provide some examples. I know you talk a lot about flock cameras and Palantir, but for people who don't know what flock cameras are, I think that's maybe a good practical thing for us to start with in terms of anchoring people's understanding of just the magnitude of the surveillance state. What are these, and what are they used for, and how is this going to be integrated into plans for like 15-minute cities and things of that nature?
Thank you. I've been a fan of your channel for a long time. I have preparations myself, and I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to share some thoughts about digital preparedness with your audience. Okay, this is a big topic I speak about frequently when I'm out doing public speaking engagements. Flock is a company that was founded in 2017 by Garrett Langley in Atlanta, Georgia. And he went from a startup company to a company that last year was estimated to be worth $8.4 billion, billion with a B. And the way that he did that, when he incorporated, one of his first investors was Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel is a co-founder of Palantir, and if you go out to flocksafety.com, they have a Q&A or an FAQ section on their website. One of the questions is Flock related to, or are they partners with Palantir? And they say on their website, there is no relationship between Flock and Palantir. Well, other than the co-founder of Palantir was one of the first investors who poured millions of dollars into Flock when they were a startup. I do not know the total amount. I know the initial investment was $2 million, but a lot of private equity firms are what I would call a shell game. I'm going to put money in this company that puts money in this company that puts the money in this company that funds this. And it makes it where you really need a forensic accountant to trace the dollars back. But publicly, this has been documented. Publicly, we know that Thiel has put at least $2 million in, and very likely a lot more. So when Flock says that there is no relationship, there is a financial relationship. Flock also says that Palantir does not have access to their data. They can't say that because if I'm a police chief and I get a bunch of cameras put up in my city, it's not up to Flock who I share it with. I could download it to a hard drive and give it to anyone. So for Flock to say Palantir does not have access to this data, they don't know that. And there are stories out in Los Angeles, there are stories about their predictive policing algorithms. LAPD for years has used a Palantir product called Gotham. Gotham is for battlefield awareness. It's been used in combat zones for several years, but it's total information awareness so that it's tying together drone feeds and body sensors and body cameras and everything else using AI to give military people a complete view of what's going on the battlefield. Well, that same software called Gotham is being used in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles does feed Flock cameras into Gotham. So when Flock says, oh no, Palantir does not have access to our data, they may not have direct access to the national database. And I'm not saying they don't, I'm saying that's possible. But I know out in Los Angeles, there have been articles written about it that Palantir is using Flock because it's one of many inputs that they look at for their predictive policing algorithms.
And so what is, for people who don't know, what is a Flock camera?
Okay. Flock camera, they're about a foot tall, about 4 or 5 inches wide, a really dark greenish color, and they mount about 10 feet above the ground on a black pole, and then they have a 65-watt solar panel right above them. And so they're very distinctive looking. If you're in the United States and you get on the interstate virtually anywhere, you're going to start seeing these around the exits to the interstates. And many, many cities have these around the city as well. There are well over 100,000 of these across the United States right now. What is unique about them, it's a camera that captures your license plate as you drive by. And what made them really start gaining popularity is they are solar powered and they are working on the LTE cellular network. So a law enforcement agency could go put one of these literally in the middle of nowhere because you don't have to run power to it. It's powered by the solar panel. It broadcasts on LTE. And so now, if you want to put one of these cameras up, you just dig a small, drop the pole in the ground and hang a camera. Flock does not sell these cameras. They lease them for approximately $3,500 a year. And there's 100,000 plus of them in the United States. So that's what they are. These cameras then feed data back to Flock, who knows the GPS location of the camera. And every time a car goes by, it takes about 10 photos of the license plate, and then it uses AI to merge and get a good clean read of the license plate. It sends it back along with a timestamp so that can go into a national database. Flock loves to play word games, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm going to stop short of calling them a liar because it's a word game. It's true from a certain perspective. Flock says this data doesn't belong to us. This belongs to the customer. So the county sheriff, the local police chief, it belongs to them. It doesn't belong to us. Okay, that may be true. But in terms and conditions, Flock grants itself a irrevocable, royalty-free, perpetual worldwide license to the data. So, think about it. If you take a photograph on your phone and I get a copy of it and I say, this belongs to Nate, but I have a copy of it I can do whatever I want with forever, it might as well be mine because I can do whatever I want with it forever. But Flock loves to come back and say, oh, no, that's not our data, even though we have a copy of it that we can use for whatever we want forever. So that's part of what's going on with Flock. In addition to capturing license plates, it also takes what they call a vehicle fingerprint. I find this even more dystopian. The vehicle fingerprint says, not only do I get your license plate, but I get the make, model, color of your car, any distinguishing characteristics, a roof rack, bicycle rack, a scratch, a dent, a bumper sticker. Okay, can you imagine in the future some political leader who has strong feelings, pick your cause, whether they are pro-Israel, pro-Palestinian, pro-life, pro-choice, pro-Second Amendment, anti-Second Amendment, pick your issue. The ability for someone in the future to say, I want a list of every vehicle that has a bumper sticker expressing this opinion. I want the names and addresses of everyone that's expressed this opinion. That to me is beyond Orwellian, and that exists today. The ability is there. And I know people personally that they were fine with this before the last presidential election. I know other people that hated it before the last presidential election, but they're okay with it today. And my plea to both sides, I don't care which president you support. I don't care what party you support. Nobody should have this power. I want the infrastructure gone because this infrastructure begs to be abused. And whether you like the person in office or not, doesn't matter to me. Nobody should have this power.
So these 100,000 cameras, is this network expanding at a
rapidly
fast rate?
If you go back and look, there's an organization called DFLOC. And DFLOC, they are mapping where all of these cameras are. And if you go out to dfloc.org, you can see where about 105,000 cameras are. Now, we don't know for sure how many cameras are out there, but 105,000 of them have been mapped. And we know that that's not 100% of them. So I don't know if it's 110, 130, but well over 100,000 because about 105,000 have already been mapped.
Contrary to popular belief, in the apocalypse, most people aren't going to die by the hands of marauders. In fact, you're probably going to die from disease. This is why you need antibiotics. The problem is getting them requires a prescription. Well, today's sponsor is Jace Medical. They've created a revolutionary service that allows you to get prescription medications like antibiotics with relative ease, hassle-free. This will be worth more than gold in an emergency for somebody who needs them. So do yourself a favor and take your prepping to the next level while you still can. Check out the link in the description below. And now, back to the video. And so these cameras are basically put at various nodes such that if in the future they wanted to geofence or confine people to a certain region, they would be able to know if you had left that region, because of course your vehicle, I mean, that's just one of the many ways they can surveil. I mean, your vehicle itself probably has all kinds of transmitters that, you know, can get into Teslas and things of that nature, but they could potentially limit your travel or tax you if you go outside your region. So this is very concerning to know that this is a network that is expanding. So you're saying that this is potentially going to be paired with artificial intelligence to analyze this data and use for predictive policing. What exactly do you mean by predictive policing?
Okay, I want to, I'll come back to that in just a second. I want to elaborate on something you said just before that, how this is already being integrated with artificial intelligence. A lot of what we learn about Flock is not coming from Flock. It's coming from news stories where somebody was stopped by police, detained, and then complaints were filed, and information slowly dribbles out about what Flock is doing. There was a gentleman, I do not remember his name, he was in Texas, but he drove down a stretch of road too many times. He wasn't speeding, not swerving. He had no business to drive down that road as many times as he went down that road. So he got pulled over by police, and they searched him, they searched his car, they questioned him, and turns out he was a contractor, but he was working on a job relatively close to the U.S.-Mexico border. But when the police questioned him at length, they searched his car, he was pushing back, "Why'd you stop me?" "Well, we just want to know what's going on." And long story short, after he started filing complaints, AI flagged his vehicle and basically told police, he has driven down this road too many times, pull him over and see what's going on. And here's a person who has done absolutely nothing wrong. You know, the old expression, and this is like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. If you're not doing anything wrong, why do you care who's watching you? Well, AI is deciding if you're doing anything wrong. AI decides if you're being suspicious. AI is sending cops to pull you over and question you if you do something that the AI says is suspicious, because most people don't drive down the same road that many times in a day. So that's where the AI is going. Now, you ask a great question about Flock and their other capabilities. They're doing the vehicle fingerprints. The idea of basically isolating people, quarantining people, that's incredibly easy to do when you have cameras at every entrance and exit to the interstates, when you have them at key intersections across a city. I remember during the lockdown, Indiana did not lock down nearly as hard as what Michigan, Illinois, and a few other states did. But I remember stay-at-home orders, and I ignored them. I'll say it right now, I ignored them. I went out bike riding regularly. I still went to see people. But now that we have flock cameras, I cannot leave my neighborhood without my license plate being recorded. So in the future, the next time somebody issues a lockdown order, those cameras are going to instantly be reporting, hey, this vehicle is on the road and they're not authorized to be. It's after 10 p.m. and there's a curfew in effect. Or this person left their neighborhood 3 times today. Even if they have a critical job, they're still not allowed to be out that often. And so I see this as a true dystopian turn when these cameras are out there being deployed, and I know how they're going to be used.
And in addition to just being used to track license plates, I mean, that's kind of how it starts. But couldn't these cameras be used for facial recognition and gesture recognition as well?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. The cameras themselves, at least the cameras alongside the road, and I want to be real clear, flock cameras are not just one model. There was the original model known as the Falcon, and that's the one that I described. It's the most common one. It's what people normally think of when they think of a flock camera. It's kind of oval shaped, about 1 foot tall and about 4 or 5 inches wide. That camera does not have the resolution to do facial recognition. Now, what it will do, I'm going to talk about scope creep. These cameras, when they were sold, the camera mounted a passive infrared sensor on it, meaning it can detect motion. And when it detects motion, a ring of infrared LEDs flash so they can get your license plate even if it's dark out. Even if your taillight, your license plate light is out, it will get that. But initially, that camera was not streaming video all day. It only activated when the sensor detected motion. Then Flock pushed a software update to the camera. So now police can log into that camera and just kind of view it as a general security camera. They can live stream from that camera. So that's new capability. And this is what I tell people so often in my live sessions when I go out and do public speaking. Once the camera is in place, what's done with it is a matter of policy, and policy can change at any moment in any direction. I don't want the hardware there, because now we're just trusting that the company is not going to misuse it. We're trusting the customer is not going to misuse it. And I don't have that level of trust. That level of trust has to be earned, and that takes years. And I have all types of reasons to not trust the company or some of the users of that technology. So anyway, they pushed a software update where now that camera can live stream. Now let's talk about scope creep some more. Out in Colorado, they are starting to issue tickets because when you drive past this flock camera, I get your license plate and I get a timestamp. And 20 miles down the road, you cross another flock camera and I get your license plate and I get a timestamp. And AI that fast can say, you must have been traveling 78 miles an hour on average to get from here to there in the amount of time it took. I'm going to mail you a ticket. Okay, I thought this was just for finding abducted children. That's the way it was sold. Now it's being used for speed limit enforcement.
So
Well, yeah,
how can they
because
do that? Because don't they need, when those speed cameras, don't they need a picture and a recording using a speedometer or whatever it's called?
nope. Now, laws vary by state. But if I know you are here, I have a photo of you here at this time, and I have a photo of you here at this time, it's simple math to say you covered 20 miles in 14 minutes. You must have been traveling an average of this speed, which is over the speed limit. And now, in some states, they're going to say you don't know who was driving that car. You only have a picture of the car. So you know the car was speeding, but you don't know who was driving. Some states, the law would have to change before you could send a ticket. But there are states in the union where you can just send a ticket to the owner of the car and say, your car was in violation.
So this is crazy stuff. So, this network is only expanding. Once the hardware is in place, they can upgrade it very incrementally, add, higher resolution cameras. Because there was a time when, okay, they had all this data, but you couldn't really do much with it because you didn't have AI to interpret it in a very, expedient manner. So now they can, getting all this footage, they can, if they want to do a query like, how many people, was there anybody walking with what appeared to be a weapon at this given time? The AI could search through the database and find all the people who might fit a certain profile. Am I correct in that assumption?
Let me elaborate on that point. I said that the original flock cameras that you see on poles along the highway, those do not have the camera resolution to do facial recognition.
Right.
That is the Flock Falcon is the name of that camera. Flock now has what they call the Condor, and the Condor, it's a PTZ, pan, tilt, and zoom camera. It looks like an upside down bubble. There's a clear dome or half dome on the bottom, and you can see a camera inside of it. I went down to Dunwoody, Georgia. Atlanta is the most surveilled city in the United States. There are over 60,000 networked cameras covering the city of Atlanta. Works out to about one camera for every 8 residents. And we're not talking about every doorbell camera and body cam. We're talking about networked installed cameras. 60,000 of them feeding a real-time crime center. So anyway, I stood under one of these cameras and I shot video of it as this camera is tracking people walking down a bicycle trail. It's a paved trail, and as people walk by, this camera follows them. And I shot some video of it. Those cameras do have the resolution for doing facial recognition. Now, if I go back to the Falcon cameras that do not have ability to do facial recognition, if you walked by it, this is what it does. And I know this because I read the U.S. patent that was issued for that camera. The U.S. patent, I cannot recall the number on the patent, but you can just look it up online, Flock camera patent. Then the keyword to search for is dynamic surveillance network. I have always referred to Flock safety as Flock surveillance because these are not safety cameras, these are surveillance cameras. And the patent issued by the U.S. Patent Office is for a, quote, dynamic surveillance network. And here's what the patent says these cameras do. If you were to walk past that camera, it may not be able to do facial recognition, but it's going to say, Caucasian male, approximately this height, wearing a camo hat, wearing a olive green sweater, just walk past. And so it's basically describing you in detail what you're wearing, what direction you're moving, your height, your approximate weight, your approximate age. And that's what this camera records. You walk out of range of that camera and you turn the corner, and now another camera picks you up, and I now have where you are based on 2 things. This would have been last October. Amazon Ring, who makes doorbell cameras, they announced a partnership with Flock that they were going to start sharing video feeds from doorbell cameras with Flock. So you go to a friend's house who has an Amazon Ring camera. As you're walking up the sidewalk to that person's house, it is tracking you. Hey, that guy that we saw a half block away 30 seconds ago, there is somebody that matches his encryption. We're not doing facial recognition, but we know a Caucasian male of the same height wearing the same type of hat and shirt that we saw over here 30 seconds ago is now here. And they would be able to trace this back to, you went to this house. We know you went in the house because we saw you go in the house. They know where you came from. They may have seen you getting out of your car. Now we can tie you to your license plate and we know what house you went into. That's a dynamic surveillance network. Flock is now encouraging law enforcement to go to private businesses and encourage private businesses to tie their security cameras into the Flock AI network. And this has already happened in Dunwoody, Georgia. There's a man by the name of Jason Hunyar. I did an interview with him. There's a video for that out on my YouTube channel, Business Reform on YouTube. Jason started sending open records requests to the city of Dunwoody, Georgia. And there is a daycare center in Dunwoody, Georgia. They have security cameras. Local police paid them a visit and made the pitch. You know, God forbid, if there was ever an active shooter at your daycare center, it would really be beneficial to if we could have immediate access to all of your security cameras. And for a small fee, you can tie your cameras into Flock's AI network. And then if something happens, you call 911, we can instantly access all of these cameras to see, you know, there's a shooter down this one hallway. They've got this many hostages. We know exactly where they are. It's a very compelling sales pitch.
Mm-hmm.
The terms of service, when you sign up for this, you're going to put all of your security cameras on Flock's network. So these are extensions of Flock, not their hardware, but it's being tied into their software so they can ingest all of these video streams. In the terms of service, it says no human is going to be monitoring these. This is just for emergency. You call 911, police have access to it. Jason Hunyar wasn't so trusting. He did an open records request and he said, I want the audit logs for these cameras. Well, lo and behold, when he gets the audit logs, there are 3 individuals at Flock who were repeatedly accessing those cameras. Remember when they said, we don't, no human watches these cameras, this is just there for in case of emergency? No. 3 people at Flock were routinely accessing cameras in the daycare center. Would you like to guess which 2 cameras in particular they accessed the most?
I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
The children's pool and the children's gymnastics area. Out of all the cameras, they could have been watching hallways, they could have been watching parking lots, but no, for some reason, grown men were preferring to watch the children's pool area. That raises a whole other set of questions. When they got caught, Jason went public with this information. Hey, they claim they don't watch these cameras. The audit logs say that they do. And Flock immediately went into damage control mode. Whoa, it's not what it looks like. We were doing demos for police departments to show them how this works. And we have an agreement with the city that says we can do this. So Jason, being a very determined individual, when the CEO of Flock says we have an agreement with the city that says we can do this, Jason filed an open records request. I want a copy of the agreement. And the city came back and said, we don't have an agreement. Okay, so you were caught lying again. You lied about you're not going to access it, and then you lied about having an agreement that allows you to access it. But trust us on everything else.
Well, I'm pretty shocked that Flock has worked with Amazon and all of these other companies to integrate all these systems under one roof. I mean, it's like they're trying to create a virtual real-time copy of the real world so that they could analyze at any time, like you say, full spectrum awareness. It's shocking really to know that Amazon is integrated into this already. And it makes a person wonder, like, who is overseeing this? This has to be, is this just, one corporation's quests for full spectrum dominance, or is there something more nefarious going on here that is being, this is where the conspiracy wheels start turning, but is this a part of some government surveillance initiative?
I used to talk about the twin threats to our privacy. We have surveillance capitalism on one side, and this is the companies that are collecting your data and they're buying and selling. And then I used to talk about the separate threat coming from government surveillance. And what's happened, especially over the last, I would say, probably 2 years, is those two have really kind of merged into one threat. We've known for years that government is bypassing the Fourth Amendment with what's called the third party doctrine. And the way that it works here in the United States, and I am not up to speed on the laws in Canada, so this may be different for you, but here in the United States, if a government agent wanted to come in and look at my physical checkbook, he has to go to a judge and get a warrant to enter my house and look at my checkbook. But because of what's called the third party doctrine, if a third party has that same information, they can go to the bank without a warrant, and the bank can hand over my records and say, yeah, here's every transaction out of my checking account. So that third party doctrine has really diluted the Fourth Amendment that we have here in the States. In February of this year, Amazon Ring ran a commercial during the Super Bowl, and they got a tremendous amount of backlash from the public. It was called the Milo commercial, and it's the CEO of Amazon Ring talking about how many pets go missing every year. And there's this new feature called Search Party, and every Amazon Ring in the country is automatically opted in. You have to dig through the settings to try and find a way to opt out, but by default, you're opted in. And this is a great feature because if some little girl's dog runs off, Amazon Ring, all of these doorbells all over the city can look for that dog.
Right.
And people immediately put two and two together. If you can look for a dog and you already have facial recognition built into these cameras, you could look for people too. Oh, no, we would never do that. 404 Media, who I really appreciate, they ran a story because someone at Amazon Ring leaked an email that had been sent by their CEO talking about how finding lost dogs is the first step and how they're going to reduce crime by expanding that search party feature. Anyway, they got so much backlash following the Super Bowl ad, they came out and they publicly announced in February that partnership with Flock that we announced last October, we changed our minds. We're not going to do that. And I told everyone this is a temporary win because Amazon Ring has a history of announcing something publicly, getting backlash, publicly backstepping or backtracking, and then quietly going through with months later. And I suspect that will happen here. Flock has also announced they currently take about 20 billion license plate scans per month in the United States. Well, you divide that by the driving population of the U.S. and see how many times per day every car is being tracked. 20 billion license plate scans per month. Flock has announced that they are looking to partner with a dash cam company that can stream dash cam video because they said we think we can get another trillion scans per month if we can get dash cams streaming video to us. And this brings up another topic related to the incredible growth of data centers. I started pouring through, I'm a professor. Research is part of what I do. I started pouring through industry reports, trying to get estimates of how many video doorbells exist today and how many do we think there will be by 2030. How many body cameras are there today? How many do we think there will be by 2030? Dash cams, wearables like Meta Ray-Ban glasses.
Internet of Things, basically. Internet of Things devices.
And so these, I'm only counting the ones that are internet enabled that can stream live video. And the estimate was, if you add these up, body cameras, doorbell cameras, drones, add all these up, we're looking at about ballpark 800 million to a billion streaming video cameras by 2030. And then my next question, how much computing power would it take for AI to analyze what's in all of these video streams? I mentioned if you walk by a Flock camera, AI is going to characterize you, even if it doesn't recognize you, it's going to characterize Caucasian male of this height wearing these clothes.
Yeah.
And the estimate, if only 10% of these 800 million cameras were online simultaneously, because dash, when it's sitting in a garage, aren't feeding a lot of data. Body cams, when a police officer goes off work, those are typically turned off. So let's just be really conservative and say 800 million cameras, only 10% of which are on at any given time. That would take about 20 gigawatts of data center processing for AI to, in real time, ingest 80 million video streams. And when you start looking around the country at how many gigawatts of data centers, the number of data centers don't really matter. What the key metric is the gigawatts of data centers. But when you look around the country, we need about 20 gigawatts by 2030 just for doing AI analysis of all of these video cameras. And now all of a sudden, all of these data centers are starting to make sense when you start thinking about we need 20 gigawatts just to analyze the video streams. And I want to touch on Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison briefly was the richest man in the world about September of 2025. Oracle stock spiked, and when it spiked for a day or two, he was the richest man in the world. Larry Ellison, he's the chairman of the board at Oracle. He owns Paramount, and Paramount owns all types of smaller media companies. We're talking CBS News, we're talking the Mission Impossible movie franchise, a whole bunch of other things. Paramount is one of 5 companies collectively who own the vast majority of media outlets in the United States. So Larry's chairman of the board at Oracle. He owns Paramount. His son David just went out and bought Warner Discovery. So now between Larry Ellison and his son David, they own 2 of the 5 companies that own the majority of media in the United States. Larry just acquired controlling interest in TikTok. And so when you start thinking about how much influence does this man have, it's beyond what the wildest James Bond villain would dare to dream of. His dominance over the U.S. media is unprecedented. And why would the Security Exchange Commission allow such concentration of power? Well, part of the sales pitch for allowing David Ellison to buy Warner Discovery was that includes CNN. And that's going to give David Ellison the ability to go in and start firing people at CNN who might be critical of certain politicians. Politicians that have a lot of influence over the Security Exchange Commission. So anyway, bottom line is we see this massive concentration of media control in the hands of Larry Ellison. Larry Ellison said on camera, quote, "We will have supervision. People will be on their best behavior because they will know that everything's being recorded and analyzed by AI."
Yep, I remember that.
This is his dream. So you used the term a minute ago, conspiracy theory. It's not conspiracy theory when the people that are planning it are talking about it openly. And all of the pieces are starting to fit together. 5 years ago, the idea of 800 million cameras live streaming to the internet, that was unthinkable. The idea of AI being able to ingest 80 million live stream video feeds simultaneously, that would have been unthinkable. Larry Ellison saying that everyone's going to be on their best behavior because we know everything we do is being recorded, that would have been unthinkable. But it's all coming together and all of the pieces fit. That is what's going on.
The first mistake that probably 50% of people make when they get into prepping is they run out and they find the cheapest, biggest bucket of so-called emergency food that money can buy. The problem is it usually tastes awful. And I know what you're thinking, Nate, in a disaster situation, I'm going to rise to the occasion. My palate is formidable. No, it's not. You're not built like that. You're a first worlder just like me. There's a much better solution that your family's going to love you for. Let's check it out. Would you like some chocolate cake that will last 25 years? How about some vegetables or some shredded beef or hundreds of other varieties? Go through the link in the description below and get 15% off the #1 freeze-dried food company in America, the only one that I 100% resolutely endorse, Wholesale Freeze-Dried Foods. Use the coupon code in the description for 15% off. You know, a lot of people are confused as to why they're building. Like, why do we need all these data centers? Is it just to make, you know, crazy cat videos and stuff like that? But what you're saying is these are going to be the brains that integrate these vast quantities of information that are being collected in every city, and that the primary purpose of these data centers is just to really collect data on people so that they can predict their behavior and be used as a means of control, really just like giant Holarith machines, like the IBM machine that was used in World War II to process the Jews who were later, of course, subject to genocide. So, you know, one has to wonder, are people going to just allow them to do this, number one, because clearly this is a huge investment of resources that they're going to be investing in. So I guess the question is, how are they going to fund this technological apparatus that will be used to surveil everybody? I mean, how are they going to fund the data centers and the build out of these vast networks? Where's the money going to come from for this?
I want to come back to that in just one second. I want to shift gears and talk about one of Flock's competitors who has recently made the news. This is a company I've been talking about for months, but I've noticed over the last 2 to 3 weeks, a number of other creators have been talking about them. The competitor is called Leonardo. They also make license plate readers, but unlike Flock, you never see their license plate readers. Their license plate readers are much smaller than a Flock camera, and Leonardo cameras are made to be hidden. And so you're driving down the road, there are the 3.5-foot tall yellow and white traffic barrels for directing traffic. As you pass them, you may look in the rearview mirror and see a little cutout inside of one of the traffic barrels. There's a camera inside of there catching your license plate as you drive by. Unmarked police cars, they can put these in a roof rack. They can put it in a toolbox on the back of an unmarked police truck. Leonardo makes license plate readers. They're just not seen because they're designed to be hidden. Leonardo has an add-on for their license plate readers called Signal Trace. And Signal Trace looks innocent. You have probably seen them and didn't know what you were looking at. It's a white square panel about so big. I've never measured one. I'm guessing they're probably around 12 inches on a side. But what that white panel is a very sensitive antenna that is tuned to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a few other bands. And what it's doing is every time your car drives by one, it is taking inventory of every electronic device in your car. I've known about this for months. I've been talking about it for months. But you have your AirPods in your pocket as you drive by. It doesn't just say you have AirPods. It knows this particular one because there is a signature to this. Think of it like a serial number. It knows these are yours. Smartwatch, it knows this is yours. As you drive by, it's cataloging every electronic device in your car, laptop. If you had a pacemaker, a glucose monitor, a insulin pump, it's cataloging every electronic device and tying it to your license plate. Now, your car doesn't start one day, and so you call me up, "Hey, John, can you give me a ride to work?" Sure, be happy to. I pick you up, and as I drive by, the AI says, "Hey, hold on a minute. I see 3 of Nate's devices in John's car. These guys must know each other."
Because each device has its own like IP address signature.
Yes. So they know 3 of your devices were in my car. Now, I could have loaned you my car, but wait, my watch and my headphones are in the car too, so we must be in there together. Flock knows where your car is going, but Leonardo knows who's in the car.
Wow.
And now they start building this map of social interactions. Even if you and I never call each other. We never text each other. If you're physically in my car, Leonardo knows, and they will track us. You can go out to Leah's website and you can watch their promotional video that they have. They describe everyone as a suspect. This allows police to tie suspects together who share rides. This allows police to find suspects when they're riding in someone else's car. And they view the world as suspects. We're no longer citizens, we're suspects. But I find this even more insidious. There's an argument about how much right to privacy do we have where in public. And I would argue we have quite a bit, and I say that because these aren't my words. These are Supreme Court Chief Justice John Roberts' words. The 2018 Carpenter case, Justice Roberts wrote the majority opinion, and he cited numerous reasons why location data is different than financial data or anything else. And John Roberts is not a privacy crusader by any means, but even John Roberts recognizes tracking someone's movements over time reveals what he calls intimacies of life. Where do you worship? Where do you work? Who are your romantic interests? If I can follow everywhere you go all day, every day, I can learn so much about you. And Chief Justice Roberts, who has supported the third-party doctrine, he has supported warrantless searches in a number of cases. Even John Roberts is saying, whoa, hold on, location data is different than all these others because location data gives away intimacies of life. And so, coming back to Leonardo, I refer to it as a digital strip search. In the United States, laws vary state by state, but there's what's known as a Terry stop. And what a Terry stop is, you're standing outside